Hello again, listeners. We're going to read Chapter 26 of Wayside School Gets a Little Stranger by Sachar. Chapter 26, Never Laugh at a Shoelace. "This is a shoelace," said Mac. Everybody laughed. Mac was standing at the front of the room, holding his shoelace in his hand. He felt like a fool. "What a fool," said Allison. It all started a minute earlier when Miss Snowguard asked, "Who has something for share and tell?" But first, you should know something about Mac. Mac's favorite subject in the whole world is show and tell. He loved it, especially when he was the one showing and telling. He often looked through garbage cans on his way to school in search of stuff to show and tell about. He once found a really gushy love letter. It was covered in something that looked like peach slime, but that wasn't what made it gushy. The gushy part was what was written in the love letter. Mac read it to the class with lots of feeling. So when Miss Snowguard said, "Who has something to share for show and tell?" Mac reacted without thinking. His arm shot up like a rocket, and he almost jumped up out of his seat. "Ooh, ooh," he groaned. Then he remembered something. "I didn't bring anything for show and tell." Miss Snowguard heard him. Before he could lower his hand, she called on him. And that's how he ended up with his shoelace dangling from his hand like a dead worm. "It came from my sneaker," he said. He took off his sneaker and held that up too, next to his shoelace. "You see, you stick the laces through the little holes here and tie it in a bow. That keeps it from falling off your foot." "Duh," said Dana. "We know what a shoelace is," said Paul. "I've been tying shoes since I was like 2 years old," said Joe. Calvin and Bebe booed. "Sit down," said Jason. "You're boring." The kids in Mrs. Jewell's class never used to be so mean, but they had been getting grumpier and grumpier ever since Miss Snowguard took over. "Put your shoe back on," said Mauricia. "Your foot stinks." Mac felt horrible. Miss Snowguard smiled. "Go on, Mac," she said. "We're all very interested to hear what you have to say." He tried to think of some way to make a shoelace interesting. "Shoelaces are real important," he said. "There was once a guy. He was a real fast runner. His name was Howard Speed. He was the fastest runner in the world. But that was back before shoelaces were invented. And every time Howard raced, he ran right out of his shoes." Nobody seemed impressed. But then Rondi asked, "Did it hurt his feet?" Mac shrugged. "I guess," he said. "I once stubbed my toe on a rock," said Stephen. "It hurt." "Yeah, and you didn't run as fast as Howard Speed," said Mac. "He ran so fast, if he kicked a rock, it would break his toe." "Did he have blisters?" asked Todd. Mac smiled. "Man, he had the biggest blisters. Biggest blisters you ever saw in your whole life. Bleeding blisters." "Ooh," said Joe and John together. "With pus oozing out," said Mac. "Oh, gross," said Dana, wide-eyed. Everyone was paying close attention to Mac now. "Wherever Howard went," said Mac, "he left a trail of bloody footprints." "Cool," said Terrence. "And so they had to invent something to keep Howard's sneakers on his feet," said Mac. "First, they just tried nailing the shoes to his feet." "Yowza!" exclaimed Bebe. "Why didn't they just use Velcro?" asked Jason. "Howard lived in Africa," explained Mac. "Velcro trees only grow in Australia. So they tried gluing the shoes on his feet. That seemed to work, but then whenever he took off his shoes, like to take a bath or something, he'd peel a layer of skin off." "Yuck-ola!" shrieked Allison. "But finally, Thomas Edison invented the shoelace, and Howard never ran out of his shoes again." "Hi, Nolly." "Did he win all of his races after that?" asked John. "Well," said Mac, "the next race was for the championship of the whole world. Howard got off to a real fast start. It looked like he would win for sure. But shoelaces were still a new invention, and Howard wasn't quite sure how to use them yet. Right before he reached the finish line, his shoelace came untied. He tripped over it and fell flat on his face. He broke his nose and lost all his teeth and had 2 black eyes." "Wow," said all 3 Erics together. "So remember," said Mac, as he held the shoelace a little higher, "never laugh at a shoelace." Everyone applauded. That's the end of our chapter 26. We'll start up with chapter 27, Way High Up Ball. Way High Up Ball is a game they play at Wayside School, which is not allowed.